Hi, Jenny. Ahmed?
Hey, Aaron.
I've known Jenny's been a long time chapter member, so you're not with Temper anymore, are you, Jenny?
I'm not. No. Mm-mm.
So
No.
yeah.
I'm with Husqvarna Group now.
Hi, Ahmed.
Oh, really?
Welcome.
Okay. Hi, Ahmed. Where are you joining
Welcome,
us from, Ahmed?
listener.
I know Jenny's in Lexington. Patricia's in Lexington.
Hmm.
I'm in Independence. I'm about an hour north of Lexington, but still in Kentucky. Ahmed is in Jordan. And I'm sure he's
Oh,
talking
wow.
about the country.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So thank you for joining us today, Amin. So I take it you're both interested in agile business analysis?
Yeah,
Yes, the country.
okay.
So Jenny, do you work in agile environment?
Not really. We're so small. We just are doing whatever we do.
Oh,
It's
That's
okay.
pretty
We'll
agile.
call it
yeah,
hybrid.
a little hybrid. Who knows? It's a very small team. Very small team.
Okay.
Yeah.
We try to go agile.
Yeah, we're
We're
all trying at
trying.
whatever level of
Exactly.
maturity. We're all, looking for that prize.
Yeah.
Um, Listen, Aaron, I'm ready to start. Are
Yeah,
you ready to start too?
sure. I mean,
All
the
right,
recording is going, so
yeah, waterfall keeps dragging us down. Yeah, that is so true. All right, like that's the mindset we're trying to change. And tonight it is my pleasure to introduce Aaron Whittenberger, who has written a book for those of us trying to be more agile. It's a different point of view and perspective than a lot of the literature that's out there. Aaron comes to us with more than 30 years of experience, multiple certifications, and has held multiple officer roles in our Bluegrass Club at IIBA, including the founder role, I believe. So I'm really excited to talk to him about his book that's coming out. He'll be giving us details later on where we might be able to get it and when. But I wanted to give you all a chance to weigh in the chat, not just where you're from or why you're here, but also if there's some questions as we go along, please feel free to add those to the chat, and I will include those after the questions that I had already prepared for the evening. Aaron, congratulations on your book. And
thank you.
I would really like to get started, like get right into it. One of the things that you have in your book is you position business analysis as a capability rather than a role. So I was wondering, organizationally and culturally, how can teams do this, perform this capability instead of kind of going back into their silos, where we're used to seeing people and just fully embrace this capability. Can you talk a little bit about business analysis as a capability?
Sure, but the book itself makes the argument that it's both a capability and a role. So I work in agile as an agile business analyst with a agile team, and I make the um, argument in the book that the business analyst sits on the delivery team, which with developers and testers. I make the premise that you get much better products if you have professional business analysis, services, someone who's deep in that understanding and knows many more techniques and ways of doing things. rather than having a team of just generalists who do a little development, a little testing, a little analysis and that. When you bring professionals in with that deep understanding, you will produce better products. And I'll say the same thing for testing. We have professional testers on our team, and um, I think the products that we make is a lot better because I'm there and because they are there.
That's
I
an
will.
interesting point of view because Agile sort of challenges that people should be able to flex into any role, but there's some limitations when, like, maybe I'm the Scrum Master, but I also perform some QA or whatever. Maybe those are not my strong suits. So what you're saying is that having professionals in each of those roles can really help us produce better products rather than if we're just all a bunch of generalists where we can kind of flex in and out of a role. Do I understand correctly?
Yes, you do. And I also make the argument in the book and in my way of working and everything that even though I am there and completely fulfilling the agile business analyst role, that doesn't mean that other team members don't do analysis. Certainly, the product owner does it like every day. If a developer challenges the acceptance criteria, they're doing business analysis. If as testers think about edge cases and what could go wrong, they're doing business analysis. So just because I'm there and, deeply fill that role and take on a lot of the analysis for the team, it doesn't mean that nobody else does analysis. Certainly they do. And that is the capability part. Um, that they all have the capability to do analysis. Just I have a lot more experience and a deeper understanding of doing it.
All right. Well, since you brought up the role of the product owner, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between a product owner and a business analyst. And in the book, you talk a little bit about whether these roles are redundant or not. And can you talk a little bit about the difference of the roles, how you see those roles, if both roles are needed, any kind of key differences between those roles that you see in your experience?
Sure. Now we know from our area here in Kentucky, Ohio, Southeast Indiana, um, I think I can name three companies that when they went agile, they transitioned a few of their business analysts to product owner and let go of the rest. And
Mm.
then a year or two later, they're hiring business analysts back. Going agile doesn't reduce the necessity for business analysis, it increases it. So, there are definite distinctions between the product owner and the business analyst. I am there basically to support the product owner. I support the entire team, but mainly the product owner. I help her do the analysis and that she has to do to prioritize that backlog, to determine, what the stakeholders are asking for, but what they really need. Um, and I go to many stakeholder meetings and hear firsthand from them, so I can help in that analysis of what it will be that really satisfies them, and then help elaborate backlog items, help prioritize the item, but fully realizing the product owner is the decision maker. She is responsible, and yeah, mine's a lady, but she is responsible for prioritizing that backlog. She has the final say. She does ask for my opinion, and we work together very hand in hand.
That's a really interesting thing that you mentioned just now, which is the role of the BA is not just a one and done, something that happens up front, that you're constantly
right?
working with the product owner and through prioritization, and I'm imagining through initiative and delivery. So can you tell us a little bit about the three planning horizons that you discuss in the book, which are kind of in, where do organizations drop the ball in terms of connecting the dots between these, strategy, initiative, and delivery. And maybe what are some steps that leaders can take in order to make sure that that kind of ongoing communication that and the ongoing collaboration that you're talking about, how do we make that work? Like, what does that look like in real life?
Okay. Yes, I kept the three planning horizons, fully believe in them that are in IIBA's Agile extension to the BABAC. This book really just takes that standard. It is still the standard, and I build upon it, extend it into the current world, and that um, not trying to replace the Agile extension. I refer to it and say these are the standards, stay with those. And that this, the Agile extension is 9 years old. This is more current information. It extends a lot of the standards that are in the Agile extension, such as I have extended 7 principles of Agile business analysis to 9, but I did keep the three horizons. I think what happens a lot in organizations, what makes them fail at Agile is they think that strategy happens and then stops, and then initiative starts and stops, and then delivery starts from there and stops. And that's not the way it should be. They're all interrelated, they're all ongoing. It happens concurrently and back and forth in that.
Mhm.
The book talks about context from the strategy horizon flows downward to the initiative and eventually the delivery horizon, and that feedback flows up. What we learn during delivery feeds up to the initiative horizon and informs decisions about whether we built enough of the product, and the remaining 20% to be done isn't worth building because it's features that will rarely be used
Mhm.
or whatever, as well as um, flows up to the strategy horizon and informs more decisions about funding projects and products and initiatives and that, as well as when we decide that this one is done, to sunset our product, there are resources that can be allocated to other initiatives in the organization.
Mhm. So what I hear you saying there is the iterative nature of Agile isn't just limited to the development team and those people writing code, but it's also interwoven into those three horizons that you identify here. And so everything is iterative in Agile, not just the development piece, but also the strategy, the initiative, and the ultimately the delivery. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you look at a lot of the certifications from Scrum Alliance, scrum.org, Agile Alliance, SAFe, and that, all they're really talking about is delivery.
Mhm.
They talk about the delivery. IIBA is the only one that talks about the strategy horizon and the initiative horizon. This is how you bring what you were learning and about building products and that back to the organization. And that's how organization keeps control of what is going on with each initiative. And it decides, whether to continue funding that product or not.
Wow. Yeah, so I can really see that interconnection and how you're just showing that every part of the product has to be also agile. You can't just have one piece of the puzzle be agile and everybody else be static. And I think that's where,
Mhm.
maybe some organizations could learn from what you've written here is that every part of the business has to be agile and not just the delivery. So since we're talking about that, let's talk a little bit about how agile teams have a lot of pressure to get stuff out the door and have rapid delivery. But what might be missing is the importance of the analytical part and that analysis, the discipline to analyze, make sure that what we're building is ultimately the right thing. So, can you talk a little bit about the point that you make, which is speed without clarity increases risk? So, we want to talk about risk versus value and how important it is to have the right analysis and clarity up front. Can you talk a little bit about that tenet in your book?
Sure. And want to say hi to Andy. I see him out there. Um,
Yeah.
hey, so yeah, so if you're just building a product or you're going off of a product list or a feature list that was created 6 months to a year ago and not getting feedback on how you are doing, what you deliver, has that, satisfied your customers? Getting that feedback and adjusting what you're going to build in the next iteration. Um, without that kind of thing, you're just building, a product that may or may not make the mark and satisfy your customer. But, getting fully elaborated items so that the entire team understands. I think one of the most important um, functions that I perform is creating shared understanding. Each backlog item and that the testers, the developers, the architect understands um, what is expected, what is the expected outcomes of this thing? How is it going to function? And how are the customers going to use it? And that, so understanding that customer role, which is part of that context that came down from the strategy and initiative horizon, understanding the customer and how they're going to use your product and each feature of your product, and that helps you build the feature correctly so that the customer will use it as they wish, um, instead of, you know, um, what you think, or assumptions that you were making. Fully understanding that customer and what their intent and motivations are is important.
Wow, that's really resonates with me, Aaron, because in my experience, we sometimes have internal people having a wish list of things that they want, but what you're
Hmm.
saying is the business analyst can help bring in that voice of the customer and put that into the requirements and not just, build the gold-plated list that, that kind of comes down from on high. And the customer experience is so important. If you can capture that as a business analyst and get the voice of the customer into those requirements, I think that's a big win for teams. And you also mentioned the importance of developers understanding what it is they're trying to achieve. Because I think you mentioned silos a few times, and what happens if we have a silo is the developer's just told, like, just create this button, and then when I push it, this is what's supposed to happen. But if the developers fully understand what is the goal, they might have a better way to achieve that goal from a technology standpoint than the person who's starting up at the beginning and coming from on high and saying, we want the product to do this. And so I think it's important that the business says the what and that the technology team is able to figure out the how. But the in
Yes.
between those two items is the business analysis that helps provide the clarity, statistical analysis, and other inputs that neither side has. So that is just really
Absolutely.
that's
And,
really
and
really
we
important.
we also, I feel that I'm the keeper of value. The product owner is as well, but I help define, what is truly valuable to our customers. And that if you have one stakeholder asking for one feature and four stakeholders asking for the other, which one is more valuable?
Yeah.
And then that all has to be um, put into a formula, contrasted against, well, how much effort is it going to be to build it? How much time is that going to take? And
Mm.
is it truly worth it to the organization? And um, you know, you you can bring that clarity to that discussion, understanding the customer and what motivates them and what they see as valuable.
Wow, that's true because sometimes that one thing that really bugs us is really just an edge case. And it's
Yeah,
not something that's happening to multiple people. And we're like, wow, it's really a pain point, but it would cost this much to fix this problem versus cost this much to fix this problem. So it's
mm,
that is the role of the business analyst to help you figure
absolutely.
out what is the connection between those two things. That's great. Thank you so much for that. You mentioned something.
And
Go
well,
ahead.
I did want to say, they say that 40%, 47% of all features created are never used.
Mm.
So that's where you're missing that clarity and understanding of value. The users don't value those items, that those features, they're not going to use them. So you
Oh,
can create
wow.
them all you want, but that's how we define waste. You
Right.
just wasted a lot of effort to create a feature that no customer wants or will use. You could have certainly have been doing something much better, much more valuable to the customers.
Wow, that's really true. One of the things that we do in our organization is we have a tag in Jira. It's called Never Used. And for those features that we find that users never, it's NVR USD, you can steal it. NVR USD never used. So sometimes we can see from tags and other things that there are features that, we perfectly developed, we were told to develop it, and it's out there and no one ever presses that button. So what you're saying here is really important is this a one way for businesses to save money and to use their developer time towards something that's going to actually give an ROI to the company and give something that the customer needs rather than just looking at a list of features and saying, let's just get these out the door. I like one, two, and three. Let's do one, two, and three. Really awesome, Aaron. Thank you so much. You mentioned value earlier, and value is not always financial value, but sometimes value is values. And one of the things that you talk about in your book are things like judgment, ethics, responsibility, and that the person who is the business analyst can help ensure that those things are included. Because let's face it, like every meeting we go to lately, every other meeting is about AI. And
And
AI just
ethics of
added,
AI, yes.
and so, I'm totally not opposed. I use some what I would call machine learning. I don't believe there's such a thing as AI. That's another meeting we can have. But when you talk about people using machines rather than humans to make decisions, can you talk a little bit about judgment, ethics, and responsibility and how a BA can put that into the process?
Sure. So all that we've been talking about, from elaborating, decomposing items into smaller items, elaborating on them, creating the shared understanding to help the team understand, so we all see the same vision, of this product and of each feature within the product, and that you can bring in, those values and that have it's my responsibility, to create clarity and that shared understanding. It's the product owner's role and her responsibility to have a well-groomed and, well, groom's the old word, isn't it? um,
Refined.
Refined, very well refined and prioritized backlog. Um, and they're responsible for the product itself, where I call them iteration manager because not everybody is Scrum. They don't have a Scrum master. But that's the role I'm talking about when I say iteration manager. They manage the iterations. They're responsible for the effectiveness of the team. keep the team moving and that make sure that the business analyst and product owner are doing their jobs as well as the rest of the team, and that we have enough items elaborated and ready to go to bring into the next iteration, so that the team can continue moving, removing impediments from the team and that. When we were back in the office and that, several of our developers and that would get to drive by at their desk,
Mm.
and people would ask them to do something that would take them away from building the product. Um, and we find out much later that they actually did it, and that, getting, requests such as that funneled through the team, not an individual developer or tester, um, is part of the iteration manager, um, removing those impediments of outside requests.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I don't
yeah.
know a single organization that's immune from the drive-by. And
Yep.
when we went to off people working off site, Slack and other like teams and other ways for people to reach around outside of the backlog and kind of try to sneak something in that didn't really get prioritized. I think I don't know how we can avoid that. We're going to add maybe the next chapter of of your next book. We can talk about like how to avoid the drive-bys. I think that would be a great meeting for us to have and troubleshoot about like how can we do this. I find myself being the Jira cop and it's not really a hat that I want to wear. I'm like, where did this come from? So yeah, it's tough. It's really because people ultimately they want to do the right thing and they want to help their company and they want to help their colleagues, but I can see from what you're saying here is like that can really distract from getting the right work done. Um, I want to go back to something you said. And let's dive a little deeper into AI since it's popping up everywhere. And I was wondering, based on all of your experience, how do you see the role of a business analyst being shaped by AI and how AI makes decisions so rapidly? How does that impact BAs and the kind of product development that you're writing about?
I do mention only in a couple spots AI within the book, and that I don't dive into it or anything. You certainly could have done that, but I really wanted to focus on the role, the capability within the organization, and make the argument that business analysis is still needed in agile frameworks or agile environments, and that. As I mentioned earlier, organizations within our communities and that have, when they decide to go agile, they let their business analysts go. And to find
Mm,
out a year or two later, they're hiring them back,
mm,
realizing finally that, they're very much needed in that. So, um, but as far as AI and that, I consider a tool. And we at the Bluegrass chapter for the last 6 months have been doing an activity for 10, 15 minutes prior to each chapter meeting where we are getting business analysts to use AI
mm,
and use Chat GPT or any of the tools. We don't dictate it's Chat GPT. You could use Copilot, Gemini, Claude, whatever's out there. Um, and we've we've used 5 case studies so far
mm,
from different industries and creates a business scenario in which the business analyst, has excuse me, has a challenge, has something to figure out, and we got a full, case study. We feed that through the chat to the audience.
mm,
We feed a couple of prompts through the audience, and we say upload this document and feed this prompt to Gen AI, and let's see what results you get. Now, in
wow.
15 minutes, we can't do a whole lot of exploration about that, but we have done two events where one was 3 weeks, the second one was 4 weeks, where we took one of those case studies and really broke it down, and we spent 3 or 4 weeks really looking at the case study, understanding it before we ask Gen AI for anything. And
Mhm.
then, we understand what the challenge is, what we're trying, what the goal is. And then we feed that to generative AI and feed a prompt and start asking, for information from generative AI. And it's not always requirements, we've asked for elicitation questions we should ask our key stakeholders. We've asked for traceability matrix and that. We've
Mhm.
had Gen AI write or create the diagrams and the models that we create as business analysts. But we've also told our audience that, you can't just accept the results you get from Gen AI and just hand those off to your stakeholders and you're done. You're not doing your stakeholders any good. It takes your expertise as a business analyst to review those results and see if they're appropriate, if they're accurate, if they're complete for your scenario.
Mhm.
Um, and tweak them a little bit. It may be another prompt you have to get more information from Gen AI or have that Gen AI kind of fix the results for you.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and
think
that,
you mentioned that it's a tool, and I think it's really important that it's not doing the job of a BA. It's a tool, just like a hammer
yeah,
isn't a carpenter. A hammer does a specific thing, and we
right.
still have to have a person using it to get those nails into the wood, so that we have some walls that we can build. But I think you're absolutely right, and because it keeps showing up everywhere, I'm really glad that you're proactively including that in those discussions. I mean, it's evolving. It seems like every day there's like a new tool out, and I can't keep up with. I'm not sure anyone can. I mean, we should business analyze what the AI is doing, because it seems to be kind of crazy out there. But I'm glad that the club is paying attention to those things. I want to change the focus a little bit to leadership. And I know we talked a little bit about leaders here today, but very briefly. So let's focus in a little more on leaders. And you mentioned some leaders that, for whatever reason, let business analysts go and then had to bring them back. So how is a leader, if you were talking directly to a leader, how would they know that the business analysis and the rigor that is required to get things right up front before they're developed, how does a leader know? Because sometimes they're like, well, the pancakes are selling, so how do I know that the pancakes are the wrong shape? Or like, how do I know? How does a leader know that the business analysis is missing? Like, is there a clue or what's happening that these people finally figured out that they did need that kind of staff?
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from experience and the individual experience of those leaders that are
Mhm.
going to make that decision whether to keep business analysis or you don't think it's important. Many years ago, I attended a Cincinnati IIBA chapter meeting, which Cincinnati doesn't exist anymore. Um, but we were having it at Kroger's, and it was a CIO panel discussion,
Mm-hmm.
and the Kroger CIO was one of the panelists there. And somebody from the audience asks him, what advice would you give your business analyst today? And he said, learn to code. And you could see every business analyst from Kroger's that was in the room, you saw their jaw drop.
Mm,
They had prepared him for this thing and had no idea that that was his perspective. But from that statement, you could tell he doesn't, value business analysis as a
mm.
capability and that. Um,
Wow.
so they shortly after that disposed of their BA competency center and
Mm,
it's moved on from there,
mm,
but there are those um, that understand business analysis and how well business analysis has been proven valuable within the organization.
Hmm.
And I know a leader I have worked with, when the organization went, decided they were going to Agile, she stepped up and made sure that Agile and business analysis grew together within the organization. She understood the value of business analysis. She understood the value of Agile as well. So
Yeah.
she just wanted to make sure that that organization did not make the same mistakes that, at least three of these other organizations made.
Wow. That's pretty eye-opening, all of that. I know I learned something today that means it's good. That means it's a full day for me. I learned something. So thank you for sharing those those sometimes those anecdotes really land and really help people see the problem in a way that maybe they couldn't. So thank you for sharing
Yeah, yeah. If
those
you're if
details.
you're doing business analysis effectively, and that you're probably learning something new every day.
Yeah.
And so whether it's about your customers, about your team, about the product that you are building, redefining value, um, for the product, it could be anything that you are learning. You may be learning, proving and disproving assumptions and that, or what the organization expects from this product. Um, Many things you can learn, and I think I learn something new every day.
Wow, that is really important. We got to keep it going, keep those little cells going up there. There's science in that too. It's not
Yeah.
just on the business, but also on the human side of that equation. So, for those of you who joined us later, we are talking with Aaron Whittenberger, author of Agile Business Analysis, a guide to product thinking and delivery. And we're talking a lot today about how delivery is only one piece of the puzzle. And Aaron, this is your first edition is coming out in 2026. Can you tell us a little more about like when it's going to be available, how we can get our hands on it? Can you give us a little heads up on that?
Absolutely. First of all, I did want to say, I bring product thinking in with agile and business analysis. You know, um, the 9-year-old agile extension did not talk about product thinking or product delivery, and that doesn't use the word product, it uses the word solution. I make that metaphor in the book and that saying that this is two sides of the same coin.
Mm.
But the book will be out hopefully in a week. So it is in the publishing process right now. As soon as it gets approved and everything for publication and that, they'll start printing out several hundred copies of my book. And we'll get it, it'll be available on Amazon. Um, so Amazon.com, I will say the first week of sales, it will be half price.
Oh, wow.
So,
So shop
yeah,
early, folks. Shop
shop
early.
early. Keep a
Keep that.
lookout for it out there. And I'm hoping it's going to be a week because, in a week, or next Friday, yeah, so a week and a day, we have a conference. And I'm very integral, probably spent over 100 hours planning this conference and that we have 12 chapters that are putting this thing on. So, have 20 something uh, speakers. There's going to be 25 sessions. We have 5 tracks. So it's big and, the largest conference that we have done. So if you're not registered for that, if you want to see that, we have the day before. So next week, next Thursday, we have half-day workshops. So for that deeper learning experience and that. Um, so that's along with getting this book to publication has been taking a lot of my time here lately.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and
What an energy you must have. I'm just tired thinking about it, Aaron. I'm gonna have to go to bed early tonight. Let me tell you. I'm excited also about the conference. So please be sure when the notes are sent out and the recording is sent out that you please include the link where people can register for the conference. And we want to be sure that that they're there when you announce your book release, and hopefully everything, all the cards are, all the stars are going to align so that all of that happens next week. I'm so excited for it. And oh, thank you also for dropping that in the chat. For those of you who are
Uh,
interested in attending, please take a look at what's going to be offered in the very highly curated conference. I know there were a lot of people that wanted to present and we couldn't accommodate all of them. And so it's going to be a highly curated experience, and I myself am looking forward to learning more. And Aaron, I wanted to ask you if there was something I missed in our conversation that you felt that really one takeaway that either we talked about or we didn't talk about that you want our audience to leave with tonight that's coming from your book.
Um, I don't think so, really. We've kind of covered a lot. The bringing in the product thinking to agile and business analysis, I felt was very important to do. There's not a lot of literature to talk about those three
Yeah.
elements together,
Hmm.
and that, as I said earlier, this builds upon and extends the standards created by the International Institute of Business Analysis, or IIBA, in its Agile extension and its guide to product ownership analysis. Um, I kept the three planning horizons. I extended seven principles of Agile business analysis into nine. If you want to see what I did there, buy the book. Um,
Exactly.
so we
It's
we
not a
we
shameless plug because a lot of us have hybrid roles, not just like in the office and out of the office. I'm talking about like my role in particular is business analysis is only one of the hats that I have to wear. And so I'm sure I'm not the only person out there that, can benefit from your deep experience that allows us to like coalesce those three elements into one. For those of us who have to wear many hats, I'm sure it's going to be a really great book for us to read. We have a few minutes left, and what I would like to do next is I would like to open up the meeting for people who have deeper questions or any comments on what you heard today, or something that you think we should talk about in a future book session. So I'd like to pass the microphone out, or if there's anybody who wants to put a question in the chat, you're also feel free if you want to come off of mute and ask your question yourself. It would be great. I can get a sip of my Coke here and get wet my lips because I've been talking, talking, talking. And I would love to hear what all of you have to say and think about today's meeting. We got a quiet bunch.
nobody.
We got a quiet
Um,
bunch today.
yeah,
Sometimes
nothing
that
in the
happens.
chat. So,
Yeah.
um, are you looking forward to the book? You're going to buy it?
I know I'm gonna be already watching. I've been asking like, when's it coming out? When's it coming out? Because I work with Aaron at the Bluegrass. I know that this has been coming, so I get have a longer window of being anxious than the rest of you guys because you're just hearing about it for the first time tonight. But I've heard about it a few times. I'm like, when am I going to see this book, Aaron? When's it coming? When's it coming? How can I get my copies? So I'll be keeping my eye out as one of the early adopters when I'm totally addicted to Amazon. So I know I'm going to be in there every day. When that book is there, I'm going to be able to find it. I hope you'll put it on our
It,
website
it,
too, when
it
the
will
link
be
to it.
announced on on LinkedIn and Amazon. Yeah, we could
Okay.
announce it at Bluegrass IIBA chapter
We
as well.
should. Yeah, we
So
should.
our annual general meeting is on the 20th, which is Wednesday in a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely will be out by then.
Mm-hmm.
So I might make a selfish plug.
Well, you're just trying to help us. I mean, anybody can write a book. I mean, not everybody can write a book. So what I'm saying is that for those of us who don't have the depth of the experience that you have, it will really be helpful for us to tap into your brain And thank you for making all that extensible for those of us who don't get to work with you on a regular basis. And I
All
look forward
right.
to that. Is there
Yeah, I just
anything
wanted
else?
to
Go ahead,
can,
Andy.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. Congratulations on the book, Aaron. That's exciting.
Thank you.
I was looking for it on Amazon today. I was like, where is it? Where can I get it? So now I know I have to wait a
Not
little bit,
there
but
yet. So,
yep, that's
so
awesome. I
it,
was one of the questions I was thinking about, and you may not have really dug into this in your book, which is fine. But I've been working in like consulting area as far as being a business analyst, and a lot of our customers are they want to know up front, what it's going to cost them, and so we've struggled a little bit to be fully agile when they want to know what it's going to cost up front and everything that's involved, and so we've kind of adapted it some and had our own variations of it. But I was just curious if that's something you'd covered in the book.
Um, one thing about my book is it's very framework agnostic. So I've turned a lot of the Scrum words, and things like I said, Scrum Master, I call the iteration manager. I don't call them sprints, I call them iterations. I'm trying to stay away from, it being adaptable to only one of those frameworks. I talk a little bit about Agile at scale. Um, but not a whole lot. Well, I do have an entire appendix about Agile at scale. Um, and I have an appendix as well about analysis across the horizons and, the effect that your analysis of strategy and horizon can have on initiative and delivery and back up the horizons. So those are two of my appendixes. Um, and um, but
That's
I
an
don't get
interesting
into.
question that Andy is asking too, because what is the role of a business analyst? And maybe that distinction between product owner and business analyst, where does cost fall on that? And I know I can't even get my team to tell me like how many hours something's going to take. We talk strictly in points. You can't associate
Yes,
points to the budget. I can say, well, I can tell finance, I will like, hey, we think it's going to be this number of points, which is approximately this number of weeks. And you can just multiply their salary or do some algebra back there and figure out how much it's going to cost. We have no idea because that's not our role. But I think, Andy, that's a really interesting question because we get a lot of questions up front. Like a timeline is always another one, which is like, how long is it going to take? How many weeks how many iterations is it going to take? And, cost and time are two, cost, time, and quality. And I think BAs and are focused on the quality part. Like, let's do something that's good, that's right. And those other two legs of the stool, maybe we don't lean on those as much.
yeah, and I think it was as hard to answer that question in waterfall as it is it's even a little more difficult, just like Andy said,
Mm,
in agile because things are happening a little bit faster and
mm,
more integrated than the silos of
mm.
waterfall and everything. So, um,
Yeah. Sometimes
but it
budgeting
is,
comes up front, doesn't it? Like in a waterfall, like the
yeah.
budget might be decided before we even get started, and then the developers are like, "What?" Because they're like, "This is how much money you have. Okay, go build me this right here." And that's
And
just kind of the
and
cart before
how
the horse.
And yeah, and how often do you actually hit that budget? And that, the project manager's goal is, on time and on budget, but how often do you actually achieve that?
That's right.
So it's a little bit harder to answer that question, I think, in Agile.
Mm,
And, organizational leaders will continue to ask it. But you know, um, often, and I've worked with a couple of product owners where they are estimating that out and they are, um, they keep the product roadmap. And so when another team comes to us and says, hey, can we do this automation piece and that, and can we have it by June? They can relatively answer yeah, we can fit it in, or no way. We got too much going on and that's too
Mhm.
soon. Maybe we could do it by August.
Mm,
That's the type of negotiation that I've seen happen.
mm,
Primarily the product owner that is telling those other teams, we just can't do that, or when the organization is asking, how long will this take? How much will it cost? Um, I don't get a lot into cost um, question or that, but the big aspect of agile estimating, it's called relative estimating. We're not saying it's going to take 6 months. We're going to say relatively, this one will take longer than this one, or this one is shorter than this one, and
mm.
so, but you can tell relatively, you know, we should be able to do it in 6 months,
Yeah.
or something of that nature.
Yeah, yeah, and the complexity issue also comes in. Never is it more important to have great business analysis and clear requirements than when you want to know how much something's going to cost. Because
Yep.
when they have the fuzziness, when you just say, "Well, we sort of want to do this," or "We don't really know what it's going to look like," the having the feature clarity and the prioritization that the BA and the product owner work on together, like that is the only those are the only things that are going to help you get a little narrower on being able to identify costs. So when everybody asks you that, just go, well, the BA has to write all this down first, and then the product owner has to prioritize it, and then we can tell you how much it's going to cost. Because even then, we don't really know. Huh? Even then, it's just a guesswork based on experience. That's the
Okay.
magic.
I see Marcy out there now, and I don't know if you were here earlier when I announced that the book will be available on Amazon in about a week.
No, I literally just joined. We had the Southeast
Oh, okay.
Michigan leadership meeting, so I
Oh,
apologize. I came as quick as I could, but they were at
all
the
right.
same exact
But
time.
I also did say that for the first week of sales, the book will be half price. So if you
Oh.
get it that first week, it'll be very cost effective.
And when did you say it was going out?
In about a week.
Okay. I didn't even know you wrote it until I saw that email, so congrats.
Oh, really? You living under a rock, or you just don't pay attention to LinkedIn?
Oh,
I don't have time to be on LinkedIn. I'm working 12 and 14-hour days.
oh
So
gosh, Marcy.
I
it's
will.
been a nightmare right now. So anyway, I'm doing a company-wide initiative to bring on a new vendor, so it's intense.
I will be announcing on LinkedIn and in Amazon when it is available. So
Okay, cool.
I'm just trying to get it through publication and get it to Amazon so it can be listed and
And I
available
can
for
say, hey,
sale.
I know this author.
We want
Best
autographed. We want
best-selling
autographed
author,
copies,
right?
Aaron. We're gonna do an
Exactly. I think
autograph.
that's only fair.
We're gonna have an in-person event, and a few of us would like to have an autograph version because we know you and work with you.
Well, I'll be
Well,
able to sell my autograph now, right?
um,
There you go.
there you
We
go.
can say we knew you when.
Yeah, yeah.
You know how many letters are in Whittenberger?
Mm, a
My
lot.
my, I might get carpal tunnel syndrome.
Exactly. Well, that would be a great reason to get carpal tunnel right there is signing books. Let me tell you,
Absolutely.
can't think of a better reason to have it. Certainly not typing requirements all day. That would not be my wish. All right. Well, everyone, I just want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I want to thank Aaron for bringing all of this to light and giving us his time to talk about the book. I'm waiting with bated breath like the rest of you. Now that I know I can get a half price copy, I'm even more excited because there's nothing I like better than a deal. And
Ditto.
and I'm really so that even makes me more excited to get the book. So I'm gonna wrap this up and thank you all for your time. Again, we're talking with Aaron Whittenberger tonight. His upcoming book is gonna be out soon on Amazon. Look for Agile Business Analysis: A Guide to Product Thinking and Delivery. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Good
you.
night,
I'll look
everyone.
forward to listening to the recording of everything I missed. But
And
at least I got to say hi, so.
Hi, Marcy. See you.
Thanks,
Where's
guys.
our
Yep.
applause sound bite?
Yeah, where's my applause sound? I don't have that queued up.
I
Marcy,
know.
Thank
I'm
you,
gonna see
everybody,
you
for
Monday. Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.